Hi there, this is Michael Meaty and welcome to Tutorial Tuesday, where we'll be talking about drawing technique that you could use for your work, and it's going to get your work far better. I guarantee it. If you take these tips and you apply them, you're going to get a lot better work. You're going to understand architectural drawings to a level of depth which will really shock the competition and take control of your work. If you feel right now that something is missing, like you don't understand what, but there's something that's missing in your skill set, I think it's architectural drawing and you need to sort it out. No excuses. So the lesson for this week is on composition. A couple of compositions, just for you to get a grasp of what it actually means to draw proper composition. So why do you need to know this? Because composition, it's actually the bread and butter of architectural drawing. This leads on to draw volume compositions, like this sort of thing, which then leads you understanding how to draw and design building compositions. So you'll be able to get all these ideas, to not get stuck with ideas that look really bad. You'll have a grasp of architectural composition, and you'll basically be able to sort out and to make any idea which comes in your mind. You'll be able to make it look properly, and you'll never be stuck in your designs ever again. So let's get started. We've got two different types of compositions we will be addressing. This objects composition, which features just simple objects which the author composed together, so they have like a spatial depth to them and an order. And you also got a simple volumes composition, which features just basically simple primitives, simple volumes. So how do you usually get started when drawing something like this? Because you don't just slap on an image and bam, you're there. It's like a process. This process, even if you're advanced, it takes probably 5 to 8 hours to detail all of this, but you'll find out it's a very well spent time. So you basically get the objects, you figure out what objects you want to draw, and you start by drawing them in small thumbnail images, which are 4 by 4 centimeters. We've got a little strip of thumbnails right here. So you can basically put these objects in your mind just to understand them, because then you won't be able to just jump into a composition and just draw it. You first need to understand the objects. Like for instance, this camera. The author drew the first camera, then they had a fairly good understanding of it. There are some mistakes, ellipse-wise and perspective-wise, but good enough. Then they jumped to the second type of camera. There's actually no point in drawing a large camera, because if you can't draw it small properly on a little thumbnail, you won't be able to draw it on a large image. Trust me on this one. You don't need to waste 3 months of time to figure this one out. Just go straight to drawing thumbnails and you'll be fine. We've got an iron, it's over here, and some chips, coffee, kind of pop, a small double-decker bus, a couple of cylinders. Yeah, you can tell the first time round the author didn't understand how to draw a double-decker bus, but they eventually got their head around it with the cast shadow and everything. We got this space, which is transparent, made out of glass. And then what do we have here? These small sketches. These show like a concept for our composition. You can have several composition principles, which are fairly simple and intuitive, which you've seen on the previous videos. I'll just enumerate them briefly. You've got a dominant vertical on your third, a foreground, the little Christmas tree thing, a curve leading from your foreground to your background, and then you've also got a dominant horizontal volume. This is going to make a lot more sense when you actually get to drawing. Actually being able to draw this is what makes it count. You also got another volumetric composition where the author really thought this composition through, more detailing in the front area and less detailing somewhere in the back area of your volume. You don't have enough time to finish something like this. You can't detail it all the way through. So rule number 1, just detail the foreground. Rule number 2, study all these objects before and study the composition in the thumbnail. Rule number 3, you need to make these objects interact with one another. You see the coffee is like spilled on the chips over here, and the vase over here sits on top of the little double-decker. You don't have like all the objects lined up, because that would count as a fairly large mistake. In this case, you've got the double-decker, which you can see through transparency through the bars. Don't forget to use cast shadows for your compositions, volume shadows and cast shadows. And this mixing of elements will eventually lead to a very interesting final image. For the other image, we've got a simple primitives composition, which is a very good exercise. You'll understand how to draw these simple volumes. You've got a progression of sketches. This is basically the same composition. The first perspective has its horizon line over here, and the second one over here, the top third, which makes a more interesting image. Obviously, these volumes aren't just slapped on together. They're studied in a progression of thumbnails. Actually, this progression of thumbnails works very, very well for you to understand how to draw, how to compose images. You'll start finding out clever ideas here and there, and then it's just a matter of you taking these ideas and translating them in a larger drawing. Don't jump straight to a large drawing, because this is a fairly large drawing. You've got like 50 or 70 centimeters. One thing that might stand out for these volumes is that you've got a lot of construction lines. Always leave the construction lines. They form a part of the graphics for your work. Just like Le Corbusier said, with drawing volumes, not flat images. So these construction lines just work very well with the concept of drawing volumes. And other than that, use a set square to get these clear lines. So first you draw your volumes by freehand, and then you start using one of these set squares to get a proper contour line. You can even get this sort of thick line, which is probably 3 millimeters thick. It works very well for accentuating your volumes. One of the qualities of these sorts of drawings is the clarity. An architect's drawing is fairly clear. It doesn't have any crooked edges or stuff like that. It's got very clear, crisp lines. That's what makes it look really well and smart. And another element, probably the final graphics trick that I recommend for you, is to draw the cast shadows. These cast shadows add a lot of detailing to your work. They make it look really proper and volumetric. The cast shadows in the foreground are a lot darker than the ones going to the back of your perspective. And also try to sneak in one of these checkerboard tiles. These look very well. They are one of the basic newbie exercises, which I really recommend you master. They give good spatial depth, and they also give a nice exercise for reflection, having like a glossy checkerboard, which makes your drawing look that more interesting. A good hatching exercise for you to understand how to overlay reflection on top of a glossy surface, dark and black and white tiles. So I hope you took notes, because these are a lot of ideas. I make them sound really simple, but trust me, it took me a lot of time to break drawing down to these simple elements. You need to take them and apply them to all your work from now on. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe on the button below and share it with your friends. Maybe they want to learn the same sort of things. If they're architects and you know they don't know how to draw and they're like shying away from drawing, this is your cue to save them from visual illiteracy. This is Michael Nitu. You take care and draw nicely.